Back at home, feeling misunderstood, and between these ears ain't nothing good.
What's up, Benchwarmers? Hey, we time traveled. I mean, it's not going to look like it on the YouTube. We kind of figured it out, so we're not going to confuse anybody, but we are recording this on a different night. Hopefully you tuned in to the Colorcast last night for the national championship. That was a ton of fun. I know that we got a lot of good feedback on it. Colorcast has been pretty good to us, so we got a couple more offers for them. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, it's Tuesday night now that we're watching this, the night before hockey season starts. If you're listening to this episode, be sure to get ready for hockey season, whoever your team is. I mean, if it's not the Avalanche, you're wrong, but whoever your team is, let's get ready for some NHL. We're going to talk a lot about that, but we might as well mention it first since we did crown a national champion last night. You listened a few episodes ago with Jeremy and Dom. We had our bowl season pick'em. And I am regretting to inform you that my brother, Dominic Pilato, he won the pick'em, so we're going to have to, he's going to write something, and we're all going to have to make a message telling him probably how great he is and how much smarter he is than all of us. But Nick, it was fun last night, and now we get to finally record the rest of the episode.
Oh, man, it was a lot of fun on Monday night. You guys are listening to this on Wednesday or Thursday, but it was a lot of fun Monday night. It was unfortunate. It was a blowout game, but it was a lot of fun getting on the call. I am just going to tell you right now, if my voice cracks at any point tonight during this second half of the show, don't blame me. It's just I haven't talked this much. We've been... At the end of this, we'll have recorded 8 nuts. I mean, hopefully my voice doesn't give out. And hopefully everything's okay, but it's going to be a long night.
I gave you some tips last night. Cough drops, hot tea.
I tried hot tea. Maybe that will help, hopefully, but...
And you got a couple, well, I mean, we don't have that much time to rest because as you're listening to this, we're going to be getting set to record with Jonah. He announced that today on his Instagram page at Jonah Mitchell Fitness, Jonah Mitchell _fitness on Instagram. But we're going to start partnering with him because he's got a little bit of a startup with him and his wife, Hannah. He's into personal fitness. He's a trainer. I'm actually doing his challenge right now, so we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end of the show as well. But there's, not only was there the national championship, we had Wildcard Weekend. Basketball's, college and pros are starting to heat up, and then hockey. So we got tons to get to.
I'm wearing my USA Hockey jersey because the last time we recorded this was the day last time we created a full episode was the day before the World Juniors. USA won, beat Canada.
USA,
beat the Canadians. USA. The United States is 4-0 against the Canadians.
4-1. 4-1 in 5 games.
4-0 in the gold medal game against Canada in the World Juniors all time. In the gold medal game all time because we've lost them in earlier rounds, but in the gold medal game we're 4-0 against Canada.
So Trevor was wrong on 2 for sure.
Exactly. So we're 4-0 in the World Cup or World Juniors medal game, gold medal game. So that was a lot of fun. I had to rep my USA Hockey jersey. You got your retro reverse jersey.
This might be the first time that I've upstaged you with a jersey, just because this is the new.
I don't know, USA Hockey jersey. You can't really beat that a whole lot. But the Nordiques jersey, Cale Makar is beautiful. It's beautiful.
There we go. And shout out Trevor because I know you like the Makar, even though that it's the Avalanche, and we smacked you guys a couple years ago in the playoffs in the first round. But yeah, World Juniors was fun. And be sure to listen to 2 for Chirping because I'm getting ready to record that tonight as you guys are listening to this. Little quick fun story since we are undefeated against Canada in the gold medal games. Maybe that's our sport now. Maybe we took over hockey.
Maybe hockey is a United States sport. But I don't know. It's World Juniors. We'll pump the brakes on that a little bit because we haven't had the NHL in the Olympics in a very long, or in 8 years now. Yeah. So hopefully that changes.
No, and the fun story is I played in a world tournament for football, ended up losing my gold medal to Canada, so I count this as comeuppance for the fact that I lost out on a gold medal. So enjoy that silver. It doesn't taste as good. It's going to knock out the rest of the teeth that you guys have left up there north of the border. But that was super cool to see. But we'll start with our actual game, American football. Super Wildcard Weekend. It was wild.
It was very wild going from the shit stomping by the Browns to the Nickelodeon football game with the slime cannons to
Mitch Trubisky won Nickelodeon MVP of the, and the announcers didn't get the joke.
Oh my gosh.
The announcers didn't get the joke.
The fans obviously voted and was like, we're gonna make this as funny as possible, and gave it to Mr. Trubisky for a reason.
Yeah.
And the Nickelodeon. I mean, I think Nate Burleson, who was on the call for Nickelodeon, he probably got it. He got the joke, but I don't think any of the other announcers did.
And it wasn't even kids voting for the Nickelodeon MVP. If you follow Barstool Big Cat or PFT Commenter, the Pardon My Take guys, they were tweeting out like, "Go vote Mitch for Nickelodeon MVP," because they thought that if you won the Nickelodeon MVP, you got slimed. And they wanted to see Mitch get slimed. That was an ugly game. But yeah, I think that we should start with the biggest surprise of the weekend, maybe, and that was Cleveland, because there was.
Well, hold on. Let's not bend our bridges a little here. We both picked the Browns, so it wasn't a surprise they won. It's a surprise how.
Exactly. It was like there was always a chance that they would be able to win, and I think we saw a little bit of the rust from the sitting them the week before. And obviously, the Steelers didn't take the Browns seriously. Did you see the video?
The Browns is the Browns, huh, Jimmy?
Yeah, that too. And
Browns is the Browns, and Corvette all the way home.
Afterwards, Claypool did an Instagram Live where he went and was like, yeah, it's a bad loss, but they're going to get clapped this week. So you still haven't learned your lesson. You're still talking mad amounts of shit. And I don't think you could do that because, ever since they lost to the Packers in the Super Bowl, they really haven't had great playoff success. Tebow in 2011, 2016, the divisional round. And then they've been like not making the playoffs for 3 or 4 years in a row too. So it's not like the Steelers are some dynasty. Yeah, they were 11-0. We could go back and see all their 11 wins. It was the Bengals who at that point had 2 wins.
Broncos at one play who were winless.
Yeah, and it wasn't
second week of the year.
It wasn't Drew Lock. It was somebody else playing quarterback.
I don't even know anymore.
I think it was a long time ago.
It was Driscoll. I don't know.
I think it might have been Driscoll, and they almost lost that game too. So the Steelers, you got no room to talk.
They were
shit.
fake. They were fake the whole season.
We should have been talking about them as the frauds. Yeah, the imposter. The Bears were an imposter on the NFC, but I think the biggest imposter of the entire league was the Steelers. And the Browns really surprised me, mainly because I thought not having Kevin Stefanski would hurt them more than it did. But we still got to mention the fact that nobody was comfortable the entire game until that last game-sealing interception. And even then, I was like, maybe. Like, there's still a chance that the Steelers could pull out some miracle, and it would be perfect for the Browns to go 10. I think they were 11-5, actually. Go 11-5, almost win, dominate a majority of that game, and then have some weird thing happen towards the end where they just end up losing to the Steelers. Luckily, it didn't happen. Baker, funny thing is, on the AFC side, Baker is 25 years old. He's the oldest quarterback left on the AFC side of the playoffs. This is a young man's game right now.
Wild.
It is a young man's game. And then on the NFC side, we got the two Father Time, Tom Brady, Drew Brees for the 3rd time this season. But that's, that was a very impressive win for Cleveland. That was the franchise turnaround. And now with Stefanski, I really don't see them beating the Chiefs. I maybe see them being competitive, depending if things go the right way. But that defense was pretty opportunistic on Sunday night.
Well, Cleveland, this is their time to shine. It's not their year to win a Super Bowl, but it's their year to get out of the gutter. Mm-hmm. It's finally time for Cleveland to have a team that they can rally around and a quarterback that they can root for. It's a different turn of the pages in Cleveland. When you look at the last 2 decades, the 2000s was the Steelers division. 2010s, it was between the Ravens. It was between the Ravens and Steelers.
The Bengals won it a couple times.
Won a couple times here and there, but I think 2020s, and Jimmy, you're probably going to hate this, but this is the Browns division.
I think it's the Browns and Bengals because the Bengals are honestly on a similar path as the Browns. But I agree with you. This is the time that they kind of stood up, and maybe we see a division championship at some point in Cleveland.
You got to also remember Lamar is also still young. So the Ravens, it's not and they have a young defense. Patrick Queen leading that defense is going to be huge. As much as I didn't like what they did after the game,
I was going to say
they have a very good young team. J.K. Dobbins is going to be a very good player for many years. Marquise Brown, we saw what he can do when he finally shows up to a ball game. Mm-hmm. Mark Andrews isn't really used. They're a very young team too. So this is the Steelers are looking at possibly being the bottom seller of this division very soon if they don't get a new quarterback. Don't get a new quarterback and don't move on from Big Ben, they could be the bottom seller of this division. Because right now, looking at it, Big Ben is the worst quarterback in this division.
Yep. He is.
And you're not going to be able to win the division very often by that happening.
No, and the main thing about the Steelers the entire season was he's going to not make the mistakes that put you in bad situations. And then in this game, the first turnover wasn't really his fault, but he is old and fat and couldn't get to the ball before the Browns fell on it in the end zone. that was really reminiscent of the 2015 Super Bowl. I'm
Oh,
sure you had a little deja vu
I had
there.
all the deja vu. Everyone was saying, I saw it all over Twitter. Don't say it, please, Broncos fans. Don't say it, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. And they got brought up because that's the last time it happened.
Nobody. Oh, the Broncos. Yeah, that looks a lot like Von Miller and
I'll
Mike
tell
Jackson.
you one thing. I thought it could never have gotten worse to a start to the game for the Broncos, but holy shit did the Browns make it look better.
I was talking about when they did it to Cam and they just scooped the ball all the way.
Oh, no, I'm talking about...
I was trying to be
okay, yeah. I'm talking about worst starts to a game in playoff history. That Broncos-Seahawks game with the fumble. That only resulted in 2 points. The Steelers-Browns game, that resulted in 7 points, and then 2 turnovers, 21 points, then 28 points. Right. So, I mean, Broncos fans, we got lucky, man. We don't have to worry about having the worst start to a playoff game in NFL history anymore.
No, that was bad. And the Broncos one was bad because Manny Ramirez is a really good center. It wasn't like that's normal. And Marquise Pouncey, long-time Pro Bowler, really good center.
Just retired too. He's a really good player, obviously out of that Florida dynasty with Tebow and that ragtag of a team. But he definitely is one of the best centers the Steelers have had in a long time. Congrats to him on a good retirement, but that's a tough way to go out.
No, and it does then beg the question because him and Ben had kind of like a retirement pact almost. They both had the same amount of time left on their contract, so I think Steeler fans are ready to move on from Ben, honestly, especially after that performance. But it's all going to come down to if he wants to play more. I don't know if they're going to be able to trade him because I don't see maybe a team wants him as a backup, but I don't think he wants to be a backup quarterback.
He's not. So the difference between him and Tom Brady, people are making that comparison about how they weren't able to win much games anymore. Tom Brady lost in the first round of the playoffs. Divisional round of playoffs last year for the Patriots.
It was the wild card, actually.
The wild card, sorry. They lost the wild card last year, and then Big Ben did it this year. I don't see Big Ben going anywhere else. I think he's not to the point where Tom Brady is still a viable quarterback. He can still make plays. He still is one of the best quarterbacks in this league. Big Ben is not that anymore. It's two completely different stories. If you're a young team and you're looking at bringing in Big Ben, the only teams that I could see possibly doing that would be San Francisco if they're in need of a quarterback badly and they feel Jimmy Garoppolo isn't that and they still feel like their championship window is still there. That's an opportunity. Or Indianapolis if they move on from Philip Rivers, where they feel like their championship window is there and they just need a leader. That's the only 2 spots. Elsewhere, if you're a young team, you don't bring him in. If you're a team that's looking for a backup still, don't bring him in. There's other options for that. Unless you're a team that needs a quarterback to possibly put you over the edge to win a Super Bowl like the 49ers, where they were last year, and then the Colts who had Philip Rivers this year, I don't think he leaves. He'll retire a Steeler.
Yeah, that's probably the best thing for him. I think he's overplayed most of his expectations. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. I don't like the guy in general. And I got in a little trouble on Twitter for something that I said on Sunday night on my personal Twitter. Thankfully, not. I know I would have gotten an earful if it was on our at FUOTB pod Twitter. But yeah, I can stand up, be a man, and admit that he's had a hell of a career. He's a Hall of Famer, no doubt.
First ballot, more than likely.
Two-time Super Bowl champion, went to another one, and then just he's been so good for so long. This year, notwithstanding, so I can admit that. Let's talk about the Ravens because that was some bullshit to end the game. And Lamar, you're fucking included in that because running off the field, not shaking anybody's hand, and then coming back for a TV interview, you can go kiss my ass. I don't like you anymore.
I will give Harbaugh credit. Harbaugh
Yes.
shook Vrabel's hand after the game, and they made up after their debacle a few weeks back. But that's it. That's it.
Everybody else who danced on the logo, Lamar running to the locker room, that's horseshit. You gotta win with class. You gotta lose with class. You gotta win with class. They didn't do either this season. When the Titans came back and beat them in overtime, it was a hell of a game. This is a big rivalry, and I forgot actually how long this rivalry goes back. All the way from Ray Lewis, Eddie George, and then it's been this way for a long time. So I get it, but you gotta have enough respect for the game that you don't do that kind of shit. And the problem for the first game. The Titans were not dancing on the logo at midfield. They were standing on the logo, warming up, catching punts. Every team does that. I've never heard of a rule where you're not allowed to stand on the midfield logo when you're catching punts, warming up for the game. So that was bad earlier on in the season, and the team dancing, they deserve more than a 15-yard penalty for that. That should have been a 15-yarder for everybody who danced. I sound old, I sound crotchety, I promise I'm only 23, and I really do, I love the players having a little bit of personality. But there's a point where it gets too much. And that was way too much.
I would have accepted them running down the end zone, looking in the cameras, dancing, all that. I would have been completely fine with that. On the logo, it's a different story because of respecting the other team in different other ways. You can dance, you can celebrate. Yes, your team just won a big playoff game against a team that was in the AFC Championship a year ago. Right. And that defense did a fantastic job slowing Derrick Henry down. Don't give them slack for that. They did a great job slowing him down and forcing Ryan Tannehill to force the ball outside, and that did not work out well. So their defense deserved the credit. That was just definitely uncalled for. It definitely helps a little bit with your case being a Bengals fan, and I know you don't like the Ravens at all, but I do think it was not needed for the first round of playoffs, especially since your team has never made it past the divisional round as a group. Your team has not made it past the divisional round since Joe Flacco and Justin Tucker and Ray Lewis and Ed Reed were on the team. Yep. That hasn't happened since then, so you have no room to talk. That's where the point where they're inexperienced now. Hopefully that the Bills are able to see what they did and pour it on them. I was really hoping would have been the Chiefs, but the Steelers fucked that up. So I was really hoping it was Chiefs versus Ravens, but the Ravens make it past the Bills, and then we'll see Patrick Mahomes lay it on Lamar Jackson. Though.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to the pick'em. I think that it's a completely different game plan, but I'll give you I agree with you. Inside the lines, the Ravens did everything that they needed to win. The Titans weren't able to be as opportunistic as we've seen them earlier on, and the reason why they've been able to come back and win these close games. And when Derrick Henry gets held for 49 yards, you got to figure out some other way to get somebody else the ball. Because if they're rushing that many people to the line of scrimmage to stop him, somebody else has to be open.
And it was A.J. Brown at the beginning. You were getting the ball to A.J. Brown very easily. You got up to a 10-0 lead, and then he didn't get a catch till the end of the third quarter. There was your problem right there. The Ravens went on a 24-0 run or 27-0 run, where it was 24-10 or 27-10 at the end of the third, and the Titans were playing catch up, and they hadn't got A.J. Brown into the offense. You were looking elsewhere. They're trying to force the ball too much.
It was 17-0.
Excuse me, 17-0. You got into a deficit, and then that was the end of it right there. You got yourself into a hole. If I believe correctly, it was 17-13 after that, and then they got another touchdown, so it was 24-13, something like that. So either way, you got yourself into a hole because you were going away from your second best option on the offense. Right. A.J. Brown not having a catch till the end of the third quarter after his big first quarter is not right. Arthur Smith, everyone was talking about him for coaching opportunities. That was a big slap in the face because teams are now looking at him like, I don't know if I trust you with my team.
He's still. I saw a couple teams request to interview him, so I don't think it's gonna. It hurts him a little bit. He's not going to be as hot of a commodity as a guy like Bieniemy is, but he is still going to get some looks because what he's been able to do with Tannehill the last 2 years is really impressive, especially considering, this is a funny story that I saw, but there's an Eagles fan who posted since Doug Peterson got fired, big shocker there, but an Eagles fan posted that they should hire Adam Gase because all he has to do is get away from whatever management is in New York and he'll be fine because he's a quarterback guru, quote unquote. And we've talked about that ad nauseum. Peyton Manning is the reason this man has a job, and Peyton Manning doesn't even give him any credit for anything.
If he couldn't take the New York media, how the hell do you think you're going to take the Philadelphia media? That ain't going to fly either. I mean, no pun intended. Eagles fly, but that ain't going to fly in Philadelphia. If you think you can't answer questions about why is this quarterback still playing, what is happening to Sam Darnold, if you can't answer that, why do you think you're going to go to Philadelphia and think that's going to work out any better? Philadelphia needs to look the other way.
No, Philadelphia needs a whole different... They need somebody who's tough enough. Honestly, Vrabel would probably fit pretty well in Philadelphia because he's a tough guy and he's able to handle media. And there's plenty of other people out there. Honestly, I'm surprised that I think Philadelphia has requested to interview Bieniemy, but I would see Bieniemy being pretty interested in that job because he has Jalen Hurts now. And we've seen what he's done with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, building the team around the quarterback and just building a dynamic offense. But that's a conversation we can have a little bit after the season is over. Other games that I wanted to talk about, let's mention the Buccaneers-Washington game because it was 31-23. Tom Brady looked decent.
I almost called the upset of the century. Almost did.
Taylor Heineke did his damnedest, and I tweeted out, I may have been having a few beers with my family, but I tweeted out that if the Washington would have pulled it off, I would have dressed up as Jimmy McGinty from The Replacements because that would have been the story of the century But I still give a lot of credit to those guys. They were just outmatched at that point. Taylor Heineke, I think he's going to get a backup job probably. Maybe he'll have a chance to start for the job in Washington next year, but
they'll keep him around. They'll 100% keep him around. If you saw what the players were saying about him after the game, the dude has heart. I mean, like we said, he was from the AAF with the Battlehawks.
Hotshot. No, he was the XFL with the Battlehawks.
Yeah. And he showed a lot of heart, a lot of poise. He led that team in against one of the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady, and they were in that game for a lot of the game.
Yeah.
He was driving down the field. He dove from the 4-yard line to the end zone with 2 guys on his back.
And he's like 6'1". He's not the tallest guy.
Exactly. So he showed a lot of poise. I saw an interview with Terry McLaurin after the game. He said, "I want that guy on my team for the rest of my career. I don't care if he's a starting quarterback. He deserves all the credit and heart." The one thing out of Washington this year, after everything that started the year off with Dan Snyder and the losing your name, this could not have been a more successful year for the football team. Yes, they had a losing record, but Alex Smith doing what he did, Ron Rivera doing what he did, Taylor Heineke in the playoffs. This was a successful year for the Washington football team, fan. Now you just got to get everything else behind the scenes figured out. Because everything in front, that's on TV, is going to be good because they have a great young group. They have a lot of talent that's going to be good for a lot of years to come. But Antonio Gibson is really good.
McLaurin is really good receiver for a long time. Chase Young, Montez Sweat.
Chase Young was absolutely insane, and that defense was playing a lot better than people give them credit for. So I think the future is right in Washington. Get everything figured out behind the scenes. Maybe get a team name.
That would be that'd be step number one. If we're counting things to make you a football team, a team name would be one.
Yeah. So just do the small things now that everyone doesn't see behind the scenes, because what you're putting on the field now is doable, and you're more respectable on the field now. Now just get the front office figured out.
Yeah, and we'll probably mention this with Jonah. Take the small steps. Take a little win. It's almost like waking up and making your bed. Find a team name. There are some that I can't believe. Like the Red Tails would have been cool, especially with the climate.
Red Wolves would have been cool.
Yeah, the Red Wolves could have been cool. But
maybe we'll see one of those.
Yeah, it still might happen. And then the other game, you're pretty happy about this because Phillip Rivers lost in the wild card.
I knew what was going to happen. I knew exactly what was going to happen. If anyone thought that Phillip Rivers was going to run down or drive the Colts down the field for a game-winning touchdown, I could have told you what was going to happen there. I will eat my words, and I will give Phillip Rivers credit because that probably was one of the last games of his career. He hasn't decided yet, but he probably is. He's had a good career. I just always have never liked him. There's nothing wrong against him because he's a good man. He's done a lot of the right things.
He's like he's not. We shouldn't compare him to Ben Roethlisberger because Ben Roethlisberger has some other things that make him not a good
Phillip Rivers, he's just annoying. That's the best way to put it.
Annoying.
He's just annoying. He's just annoying. And
I'm not even a Broncos fan, and when I would go to the games against the Chargers when they would play in Denver,
everyone booed him.
Yeah,
we are going to. It's like the. This is a great way to put it. The Jets or the Dolphins with Tom Brady. You don't like the man whatsoever, but you respect him. You root against him every single time he's on the field, but you respect him. I respect the hell out of Phillip Rivers, but I just don't like you as a player.
Josh Allen is that dude. I got to figure out. I got to look into them a little bit more because I want to figure out what exactly it was. Maybe it's him working with Jordan Palmer, former Bengals quarterback's brother, Carson Palmer, who's kind of become...
Didn't he play a year with the Bengals?
He did play a year with the Bengals. He was the backup on Hard Knocks. He was the backup when the Bengals ended up on Hard Knocks. Don't remind me of that season because that was a bad year. But he's somewhat of a quarterback guru. And maybe it is just changing up footwork because that's what everybody talks about with Josh Allen this year is that his footwork is so much better. But 324 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had a comeback victory in the playoffs. We saw what he did last year making the playoffs, and I think the Bills were still talented, but Stephon Diggs was a great thing for that team. I think
fantastic addition.
If I were the Chiefs, I would hope that the Ravens pull off an upset in this upcoming week because of all the teams left on the AFC side, that's probably my most dangerous, the team that I would not want to see the most if I was Andy Reid and Patrick.
Well, because we've seen what the Bills can do. We've seen that they can put out offensive numbers like no other. Mm-hmm. I don't really know if we can see that from the Ravens yet. Lamar Jackson is a fire rocket ready to pop any second now, but can they put up 40 points and win a game? I don't know. I trust the Bills to do that, though. Yeah. I feel like Josh Allen can do that. But either way, Buffalo still has to get through Lamar, and that's no easy task. If you're the Chiefs, you definitely would probably rather play the Ravens because they probably trust their safeties and their middle linebackers and D lines, Chris Jones especially, to slow down Lamar. But with the Bills, they can put up points like no other.
Yeah, the Bills would be a heck of a shootout. I hope we get that matchup because I think that would be the best matchup on the AFC side. And then the last game that we'll talk about, Los Angeles. This was what you were talking about.
I will say one more thing about the Bills thing is Charles Barkley picked them to go to the Super Bowl. So that probably means they're going to lose this next round. So just add insult to injury.
It's like the Drake curse at this point. He probably wore a Josh Allen jersey somewhere. He just hasn't been able to tour, so we haven't figured out who he's going to curse.
So their run's going to end eventually because of Charles Barkley. We didn't say it. Charles Barkley did it. So.
It's also the Bills. And what other team do you know that can go to 4 straight Super Bowls and lose all 4? And then not make it back to the playoffs for another 25 years. I feel for the Bills fans. I really do. Just like I feel for the Browns fans. A struggling franchise is no fun. And this is great. I'm glad that they had some fans in the stands on Saturday. Bills Mafia is a huge advantage. And if they continue to be this good, it's going to be a lot of fun. I might have to go to a Bills game. I hate the AFC East.
Well, I mean, we might have to do it as a network because, like we said, Zach wants to go through a flaming table.
Oh,
so
that would be fun.
We'll have an NFL Unhinged.
We got to make him wear his George Halas jersey when he does it.
Exactly. We'll have him live from Buffalo tailgating the Unhinged Network, and we'll throw Zach through a table.
Yeah, tweet at ZK Podcast if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it on Wednesday. Say that once everything is kind of opened back up, got to go to Buffalo, got to be a part of the Bills Mafia tailgate, and we got to see you jump through a flaming table in your George Halas jersey. Last game, like I was mentioning, this was your AAF reference, the John Wolford, who actually got knocked out of the game by Jamal Adams early on in the first quarter, I believe.
Yeah, first quarter.
And then the Rams able to finish off the comeback. Kudos to Jared Goff. He did something that I wasn't sure he'd be able to do, but that was more of a collapse on Seattle's part, I think, than it was the Rams doing what it took to win. Yes, the defense played well, even without Aaron Donald, but both these teams, I felt really good about them earlier on in the season, and as we've continued to see them play and all the injuries and everything else coming about, and now Seattle just fired their defensive coordinator actually today, it's just the collapse was a little bit much. I feel like for the amount of hype and the fact that everybody was like, oh, Russ has never gotten an MVP vote. Russ has never gotten an MVP vote. It kind of proved why he didn't.
I mean, both these teams, we don't know who we got each week from each of these teams because the Rams' defense is fantastic. Mm-hmm. Let's not shake about it at all because Jalen Ramsey is the best corner in the NFL right now. He locked down DK like it was no business.
That was actually the problem. They kept trying to force feed DK.
And Jalen was not having any second of it. And then Aaron Donald, when he was in, he was dominating the line of scrimmage. I'm going to compare this to the Broncos of 2016 or 2015, whatever year.
2015.
2015 when we won the Super Bowl. Is your offense has a lot of good weapons. The Broncos had Emmanuel Sanders, Demaryius Thomas, C.J. Anderson, very similar to the Rams. Mm-hmm. They have Robert Woods.
A decent O-line, too.
A decent O-line. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and Malcolm Brown.
Andrew Whitworth came back this week, too.
Exactly. So, and their defense has to carry them, and their defense is only going to carry them as far. But the problem they're running into is now they face the Packers, and that's a problem. Aaron Rodgers is a different breed. The thing the Broncos have different from this Rams team is they had a leader. Peyton Manning obviously wasn't the quarterback he was forever long, but he could still will his team offense to a victory. Yeah. And I don't know if Jared Goff can do that right now, especially going into Lambeau, because the Broncos got lucky having the home field advantage, having Tom Brady come there, but the Rams going on the road with as good of a defense as they are, you have to slow down Aaron Rodgers to a point. But can your offense put up points as well? And they were able to do that. But against the Seahawks, but that's a different story. Seahawks and Packers, I think, are on 2 different levels right now. I did pick the Seahawks for my Super Bowl, not favorite, but out of the NFC Super Bowl preseason. And then I changed my mind and picked the Packers. Luckily, I did before the game. But I picked the Packers to be my NFC representative. But the Rams have to. They have to slow down Aaron Rodgers. They have to force Aaron Jones to play within the tackles, not let him kick it outside and go for deep yards. But the Seahawks, Russell Wilson, I saw a defense where they just didn't want it. I saw a defense where they were expecting to win. They won their division. Jamal Adams played pretty good, but Bobby Wagner was a no-show. He got injured, and he just didn't really do a whole lot before that injury, and that was really the demise. Being unable to slow the ball down, the Seahawks offense was not putting up points. They had no running game. Chris Carson couldn't get going.
He didn't show up.
He didn't show up at
Cam
all.
Akers had 131
And
yards on
like
the other side.
Exactly, and Russell Wilson was trying to force things way too often.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the Rams needed to do to win the game. And I don't know if that game plan is going to work against the Packers, but it definitely worked against the Seahawks.
No, I think...
And they had that added fuel to the fire with Jamal Adams smoking the cigar 2 weeks prior and celebrating the division win after they beat the Rams. They had, like you said, don't add fuel to the fire if you're a team that's a favorite. Don't make it worse.
If you think that professional athletes don't pay attention to the media and they just want to focus on the game, oh no, they love bulletin board material just as much as the fans do. They use it just as much as the fans do. And I agree with you to a point. I think that the Broncos defense in 2015 miles better than what the Rams defense is. I do think that they are good, but the no-fly zone with T.J. Ward, Aqib Talib, Chris Harris in the slot. Chris Harris was a slot corner that year. It's not like that's going to be replicated for quite a long time. And then Vaughn and DeMarcus Ware rushing the passer. I see what you're saying. They're going to have to do the same game plan they did against Seattle, take the air out of the ball, try and pound the rock with Cam Akers. They're going to have to take it to a whole nother level this coming weekend. We'll talk more about that and give our predictions in our NFL Pick'em. Now, we'll go ahead and switch over to the sport that I know you've been paying attention to. We talked about it with the NBA. You kind of got to look at 10-game splits. And hey, look at that. Most teams have played at least 10 games. A couple might be a little bit under. Who was the team that got canceled the other night? Was it Washington?
It was Heat and Celtics got canceled. There have been a few cancellations recently in the last few days. Hopefully, I trust Adam Silver more than any commissioner out there. I know you'll probably agree with that too. But he's slowly trying to figure it out. They're no longer doing handshakes at the free throw line. They're not doing post game interactions, which is very interesting. They're no longer allowing family on the road games. So no late night hookups on the road. No Tinder dates.
Arizona.
Tinder dates in Arizona.
Devin Booker?
When you play for FIFA.
Well, I mean, not
when
just
you play
Devin
against
Booker.
the Suns. Yeah.
7 of the Suns and one woman. Yeah.
So
wild story. Look that up if you have time. Don't look it up at work though. Make sure that it's at home in a private browser because it gets a little raunchy.
Yeah. So no more of that. Hopefully they figure it all out. I trust Adam Silver. I just don't want cancellation of games. Like we said, the NFL, no cancellations. They're working on rescheduling all those games because they're going to do the doubleheader thing like they've been doing with hockey where it's 2 games. They play the same team twice in a row. So hopefully they can do that again with the NBA and hopefully do that in the future. But I trust Adam Silver 100%. The Nuggets, however, off to a slow start.
They lost again tonight, by the way.
Lost again to the night to the Nets. I'll tell you one thing, Michael Porter Jr., get your shit together. Someone needs to humble him down because he is being reckless right now, and he's out for another extended amount of period. They haven't decided when he's going to come back because he's been breaking protocols. Speaking of breaking protocols, we can talk about Kyrie Irving also. Kyrie Irving and that shitstorm, man, he has been all over the place. He just got the video came out as well about him being at his sister's birthday party without a mask. Boy, is he in trouble.
What the hell is going on with these? Did professional athletes think that nobody else has cell phones except for them and social media? Is that what's going on?
That flies in the 90s. Not right now. It does not fly.
Yeah, no, if this thing was happening in the 90s, I don't even want to know some of the stories that the professional athletes would have. It would be absolutely crazy, and I agree with you, but come on. Like, even you, who's starting to believe in all the spiritual healing medicine, if that's your thing, go ahead, go for it. I don't necessarily believe in it. Burning the sage in every arena before you play, it is what it is. He's a controversial figure to begin with because he's been run out of so many different places because of his attitude, but it's just a bad look. Like, you're not only representing yourself, you're not only representing your franchise, you're representing the league and professional athletes as a whole. You're getting paid millions of dollars. Yes, it sucks. Like, if I had to go on the road without my family, be sitting in the bubble like they did earlier this year, I wouldn't be having a very good time. It's hard. Like, being by yourself is hard. But you're getting paid millions and millions of dollars. Your families, like, the NBA is giving people generational wealth. Like, their families and their families and their families are going to be good for a long time. And you can't, you get the chance to play basketball for that, and you can't follow the rules that are set in place. And honestly, like, they're not all that difficult. Like they're not having the bubble for the season
you still get to live in your own home.
Yeah.
You still get to be around your family, which is a very, very luxury. You just can't go out and about that much and can't go out to dinner on the road. You can still go out. I saw some of the protocols. You can still go out to dinner with close family members at certain restaurants. So the league has mandated in each city certain restaurants you can go out to in your hometown. So like if you're the home team and you're say Denver, for instance, there's certain restaurants in downtown Denver players can go out to with their families.
Mm-hmm.
So that there are certain things where they're allowing it to happen.
It's strict, but Adam Silver's giving them some leniency.
Exactly.
As well.
He saw how hard the bubble was. Now they're just not even doing that. Michael Porter Jr. falls under that case too. You got to get your shit together because we are missing you badly. But Kyrie Irving, man, I said this last year. When I was talking to some of my friends, is one person that we could see ending his career really soon is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving, he's one of those players where he doesn't take anything for granted. He doesn't take shit from nobody. He is going to be, he's going to do everything on his terms. Doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. I could see him retiring within the next 2 years. It's weird saying that he's going to retire before LeBron did. Because considering LeBron's still the prime of his career, but Kyrie could be one of those guys where he just calls it, I've made my money, I've won a championship already, I'm just done. I'm going to go off, do different things, be with my family, and I could very well see that happening with Kyrie.
It's a possibility. Honestly, I could also see a situation similar but not similar to maybe like a Colin Kaepernick, to where teams just don't want to deal with that shit. I mean, because it's...
Well, I mean,
he's a great... Like, I've seen some of the highlights this year. His handles, I would be falling all over myself if I had to try and guard him one-on-one. He still can play, and he's still one of the top players in the league, but at some point, your attitude and the fact that you bring more distractions than you produce gets that gets in the minds of general managers and front offices, and franchises just don't want to deal with bullshit.
Let's get this straight, though. First of all, his attitude in front of the cameras is terrible. His attitude behind the scenes, though, it's different because he gives a lot back to charity. He gave a lot to the WNBA players who weren't able to make the bubble, weren't able to make some money. So he's done a lot of great charitable things. It's the person that's in front of the camera that acts like he's bigger than everyone else.
Not a locker room guy.
Not a locker room guy necessarily. He does a lot of great things in the community, and that should go noted because he's a great person in the community. But Sean Marks has lost his mind. His statement today saying we will let Sean Marks, he's a GM of the Nets. I'll help you out.
Thank you.
Yeah. GM of the Nets. He was a longtime NBA role player in the early 2000s. So he's a GM for the Nets. He came out and said today, he was like, we're going to let Kyrie speak on why he missed games in the near future. So he obviously is upset with everything that's been going on. Another person that should be upset, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant came to Brooklyn because of Kyrie Irving. He wanted a team with him for so long, and now Kyrie is letting KD, who's obviously still playing at a high level, down. And this Nets team has a lot of promise. It could be very good. If you're Kevin Durant, why not ask for a trade for James Harden? Why not send Kyrie to Houston? Because at this point, James Harden, he's putting on some weight. But at this point, you need players.
Those strip club buffets that aren't keto. That's for sure.
Gosh, he needs a diet. Holy cow! So he's ultra thick. Maybe we need to get him on that Jonah Mitchell diet or something. But either way, if you're Kevin Durant, you came to Brooklyn for Kyrie Irving. You came to win a championship because you didn't want to go to the Knicks. And the guy you're pairing with is doing this, I'd be pissed. Mm-hmm. I'd be pissed.
And Kevin Durant's not a guy to let his feelings go unheard, whether it's through a burner account or whether it's through his own account. I would also say that he's letting down Steve Nash as well, because this was kind of Steve Nash's shot. And Steve Nash took a lot of shit, rightfully or otherwise, over the season because everybody, like we said, the climate during the summer was no fun. During quarantine, everybody was losing their minds. But he got a lot of crap because he's a white guy, he's Canadian, and he got a job over some other candidates that, maybe had a little bit more coaching experience. I still agree with you when we talked about it when he first got hired. Nobody knows basketball better than Steve Nash. He's obviously qualified to be a head coach, but the fact that you have to try and coach after all that crap that you had to deal with when you first got hired.
He's had to deal with a lot in his first year. And they're winning games. They're winning games.
Yeah, they're in the playoff picture right now, 6-6.
They're 500. It's only 12 games so far. But
I know.
Either way, they're winning games against good teams. They blew out Boston on Christmas Day with Kyrie Irving.
They're plus 5.5 as a team, too.
Yeah, you see what this team can do when they're full strength. Kyrie Irving is just blowing another chance, and Kevin Durant especially. He's the best player on that team. Kevin Durant is, and he is now relying on having to start Joe Harris at the point guard position, and Spencer Dinwiddie, who's a former CU University of Colorado player, he's out for the year too. So they're just dropping like flies in Brooklyn. And if they're fully healthy, that team can beat anyone in the league. Mm-hmm. And yes, I'm including the Lakers in that picture because they have a team where they can guard the Lakers with KD, with LeBron, and then Jarrett Allen or DeAndre Jordan on Anthony Davis. So they have a team that can contend for a title very easily. But one guy on your team is messing everything up, and that may cause your team a lot of turmoil going in the future.
I do have one question because I watched his highlights a little bit over the weekend. Zach LaVine had a pretty crazy weekend. If you're Brooklyn, do you maybe see what Chicago wants to do? Because Chicago right now is still kind of in the gutters. They're still trying to rebuild and gain the glory of not yesteryear anymore. It's 2 decades ago now. But do you possibly maybe look at moving Kyrie to Chicago or making some sort of play for Zach LaVine, because at least we know he's going to try and do everything that he can to win. He scored 45 points in the game that I saw the highlights
against the Lakers. Yeah. Well, I was saying this on 3 in the Key. One of the teams that people are going to be fun to watch that aren't going to be good are going to be the Bulls. Bulls have all young talent. Kobe White is really good too. Zach LaVine, he's still young. I think he's been tossed around the league, unfortunately, with Minnesota, and he was a part of multiple deals that.
Go watch his dunk contest highlights.
One of the great.
Him versus Aaron Gordon?
I would say it's the greatest dunk contest of all time.
Just
not because of how good the players are, because of the dunks they did.
It just might be. Yeah. No, those two put on a show that year.
One of the greatest dunk contests of all time. But the dude it's primed for an all-star season this year. And the Bulls, they might not be winning games, but they're fun to watch. They compete. They got a young talent. Wendell Carter is playing really good too now. Lauri Markkanen hasn't come back yet, but he's going to be good coming up. They have the young talent. Patrick Williams, their 4th overall pick. I didn't agree with their draft pick. Probably should have picked Obi Toppin, but he's looked pretty good. Otto Porter too, man. They have young talent. They're what the Hawks were last year. I don't know. You probably won't get to the.
No, I watched Trae Young.
Trae Young is really good, and they have good talent. Atlanta, they just weren't there yet this year. Atlanta this year is a playoff team. They're playing really well. This is the Bulls team where they're 1 or 2 pieces away, like the Hawks did when they added Capella, added Gallinari, added Rondo for these reasons. Bulls are in that position where they are getting young guys developed, and now a year from now, 2 years from now, they're going to be contenders in the East.
So you don't think that they'll move on from LaVine?
No, they won't move on from LaVine because LaVine's young enough. He's only 25.
He fits into that core.
He still fits into that young core. Mm-hmm. He came straight out of college after 1 year, and he's been around for a while now, so he won't leave soon. They'll keep on to him. It's not one of those things where you need draft capital for the Bulls. You have a good young team. Build that core for a year, and then next year add more pieces and make it a playoff run.
I can see that. On the West side, no surprise. Lakers still holding down the number 1 spot. They're 8-3, plus 8.3 as a team. Utah right now is 2.
Is that a little bit with the Utah?
Is that a little bit inflated just because there hasn't been that many games?
Yeah, it's 12-game season. Yeah. Everyone relax. Utah, they're 7-4. They've played some pretty bad teams. Things of noteworthy would be Houston being 3-5. They're just all over the place. Boogie Cousins has played 3 games and he's been kicked out of 2 of them. So that's a whole other story. That's
the H-Town Boogie now.
San Antonio has been playing pretty well. DeMar DeRozan, a lot of people thought he would be on the trade block soon. Mm-hmm. They've played well. They're working their way in. Golden State is 6-4. Like I said, the Nuggets are 10th or 11th ranked right now, and we're only 1-2 games back, so it's not that big of a deal. The biggest fall off would be Minnesota. Minnesota without Cat has been struggling a lot. Besides that, on the East, the most notable thing is Toronto Raptors. Raptors have struggled a lot. I know our friends at the Bleach Connection do not like that. Yeah. Toronto has struggled a lot. Siakam is showing that he cannot lead a team. They are madly missing Serge Ibaka, who went to the Clippers, and Marc Gasol, who went to the Lakers. They're badly missing both of them. And Fred VanVleet, I love Fred, but he's not shown up to his potential so far. He can take the next step, but Toronto needs a lot more from him. Mm-hmm. And relying on OG and Anunoby, who's still raw talent. Yeah, that's a name.
Bless you.
That's a name. Yeah, thank you. That's a raw talent. So they got to get things going. They've 2-8 start. I would not expect that from a team that's 2 years removed from a championship. So they got to get their stuff together.
Yeah, and the thing about the NBA season, it's normally a lot longer, so you kind of got a ramp-up period, and it's the same thing. We'll kind of transition into the NHL with this statement, because I was listening. I've been trying to study up since I'm on 2 for Chirping now, but not having those extra games, you kind of got to get going fast. There's no ramp-up period anymore, so yes, the Nuggets still have plenty of time. Like you said, NBA, get your shit together. But
Will Barton also... You're not a number 1 option anymore on this team. You're the number 5 option at this point. You got to take a step back. He's not been able to do that. Gary Harris struggled at the beginning. He's had a pretty good last game. He didn't play tonight, but his last game against New York was pretty well. And the other night, too, against, I forgot who it was. It might have been Minnesota or a different one, but he played pretty well, too. So he's on the rise. We just need him to knock down some shots. And I need consistency for Jamal Murray, too. Because Jokic right now is on a tear. Yeah. He is on a tear. He has been unbelievable. He is producing like no big man we've ever seen before. And it's just unfortunate we can't get help from around him.
Well, speaking of a team we have high hopes for, let's get
very high hopes for.
Very high hopes. And the Bleacher Connection confirmed it if you listened to 2 for Chirping last week. The Avalanche are not just a paper favorite anymore. They could be really something. But I have my notes from the 2 for Chirping. Let's go ahead. Let's go through these divisions because there's a big shakeup now since COVID. Canada is going to be there as well. So first we'll start off with the Canadian division. Edmonton, Vancouver, Winnipeg, Toronto, Calgary, Montreal, and Ottawa. Do you have a favorite in that division? I know we don't get to see the Canadian teams a ton in the States just because you barely see hockey anyways, but of those Canadian teams, do you think any of them can kind of make a run?
I mean, Toronto, I'll keep saying it again, they're the biggest what-if in hockey. You don't know what you're going to get. They have the talent. They have the young guys. They have one of the best young players, American, by the way, Austin Matthews, on the team. They stole John Tavares from New York, from the Islanders. So it's interesting because a team that I feel like could make a lot of noise is Edmonton here. If McDavid is able, and Draisaitl, and they just need to figure out their secondary or the people behind.
And McDavid has to learn how to play defense.
That's true. So you got to work on your defense. You got to work on getting your goalie into shape and get everything going. But I like Edmonton a lot. They can make a lot of noise. The team that people are hyping up like too much is Winnipeg. Winnipeg, I think Laine could be on the move very soon because this team has struggled a lot. I think their championship period is almost done. Connor Hellebuyck is not good anymore. Blake Wheeler is getting old. Unless you have Scheifele going, that team has talent. Mm-hmm. They're just they undervalue themselves too much. They don't know how to take the next step. I like Edmonton to win this division. Calgary's obviously going to make some noise. I hate saying that, but they're going to make some noise.
Shout out Trevor from the Bleacher Connection.
He's and Vancouver, man, I think Vancouver should be the favorites to win the division based upon what they did last year.
Yeah,
bringing in Braden Holtby though is an interesting case because they had a great goalie there before, Markstrom, and you bring in Holtby to compete. You have a great 1-2 punch. Don't get me wrong, that helps a lot. But when it comes to playoffs, only one goalie is going to play, and I don't know who they're going to have right now because Holtby's won a Stanley Cup. Markstrom played great in the playoffs next year, and then obviously with Vancouver, can Quinn Hughes, take the next step and be that number 1 defender on the team? Mm-hmm. That's the big question for them. But I like Vancouver to win this division. Give me Edmonton number 2.
Yeah, right now I think the consensus winner of that division, because Bleacher Connection sent it out to all of the hockey fans across the network, and I think the consensus for that division was maybe Edmonton or Toronto. Joe Thornton, by the way, longtime San Jose Shark, is going to be a Maple Leaf this year. That's going to be weird seeing that big old beard in the baby blue instead of the
Joe Thornton's been tossed around. He was in Boston forever. He was in San Jose forever. It's going to be weird seeing him in Toronto blue.
Yeah, moving on to East Division. This is probably the most competitive division top to bottom. Philadelphia Islanders, Washington, New York Rangers, Pittsburgh Penguins, Boston Bruins, and the New Jersey Devils and Buffalo Sabres. So there's really 2 teams, the Sabres and Devils, you can kind of flip-flop at the bottom. I think
Sabres did, though, add to their haul. We'll say that. So they maybe could surprise some teams.
Maybe.
Offensively. Could surprise some teams and make a deep run.
I wasn't impressed with Hall in the playoff series against the
Yeah,
Avs.
I mean, we're saying that also because we want him on our team, and then he didn't come here.
Yeah.
But, he wasn't that great with Coyotes, but I think he's going to be more prominent. Jack Eichel's going to maybe have a good year there down in Buffalo. Buffalo won't win the division, but they'll make some noise.
I think they'll probably push themselves ahead of the Devils. I guess we'll talk about it now. The Bruins' big thing was they let Zdeno Chara go.
I think that was a huge mistake.
We can get into it. Why do you think it's a mistake?
Well, first of all, you let your captain walk. You literally let him walk out the door and go to a division rival. Well, I mean, they weren't division rivals originally, but they are now.
Mm-hmm.
Now Capitals are going to have to. Now the Bruins have to face Zdeno Chara a lot more during the regular season, and Chara has some legs underneath him. They may not be great minutes, but the Bruins were looking at him like he's not going to be a top 6 defender. And I beg to differ, as Zdeno Chara is not his top 6 defender still. He can still get some minutes and still get some play time on the ice and still make quality time out of it.
Lots of playoff experience.
Exactly.
And that's what it comes down to in hockey is how many guys have won a cup before.
And Capitals are loaded. They're loaded. Kuznetsov coming back. Ovi being Ovi. Ovi's Ovi. You can't deny that. Chara. I'm not really sure what their goalie situation is now with Holtby being gone, but they can make a lot of noise. Pittsburgh too. They have Sidney Crosby still. People forget.
I was going to mention those two.
Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin are still around, ladies and gentlemen.
I was going to mention those two because they're kind of. I say that they're probably towards the end of their championship window as well, but they still have the talent that they can make a run this year. Who do you think is going to win this division? Like I said, these teams are just going to beat the crap out of each other all through the regular season, but who do you have coming out on top?
This is a tough one. I like the Islanders a lot. Islanders could make a lot of noise.
They were a goal away from the Stanley Cup final last year, too.
Yeah, they could make a lot of noise. The Rangers people are sleeping on, too. Artemi Panarin, stud. The Breadman is a stud. The Frenier, we saw how good he was in the World Juniors for Canada. Mm-hmm. He looks like he's going to make the roster. They can make a jump. The Flyers, I just don't know. They have a great goaltender, Carter Hart, but they're just I don't know a whole lot about the Flyers. I'll be honest. Yeah. I just don't know a lot about them. They are expected to win a lot, but you don't know what you're going to get from them. I think this is going to come down to Boston. They're going to come down to Boston and Washington. The Flyers, I think, are going to make some noise there too in the top 3. But if I were to pick a team, Boston, I don't think will make a deep run in the playoffs, but I'll still pick them to win this division.
Yeah, I mentioned it on Two for Chirping. I kind of think that the Bruins let Chara go away because you could tell, especially in that Tampa series, the speed of Tampa Bay was just getting to the Bruins defense. Not just Chara, everybody on that defense, but that was pretty glaring. I have the Flyers winning this division just because I thought that they kind of underperformed against the Islanders and ended up losing that series last year. And a lot of the times we saw it with Tampa last year. They got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs 2 years ago, came back and won a Stanley Cup. Next division will go to the West, and this is going to be one that you can basically guess who we're both going to pick for this division. But this division is a little bit interesting because you got the Avalanche, the Golden Knights, and the St. Louis Blues. Those 3 all could be playoff teams. The rest of them, and there's going to be
throw the Yotes in there. You could throw the Yotes in there possibly.
Maybe.
Losing Taylor Hall hurts a little bit, but they got a young team too, so you could throw them in there because their goaltending. I mean, we saw how annoying that was, but their goaltending could lead them into the playoff picture as well.
The good thing about them is that they only have to beat 4 pretty mediocre teams in the Sharks, the Kings, the Ducks, and the Wild to be able to make it into the playoffs. But I will say, we mentioned the Wild as a possible sleeper for the 4th spot in this division.
I don't like that at all. I think the Wild are past their prime. They're kind of rebuilding, but they're not. They still have a bunch of old guys on their team. I don't like them at all. I think they're bottom seller, honestly.
Could be.
I think they're bottom seller. I think the Ducks could be on the rise. Zegras, we saw how good he was in the World Juniors. He's definitely making a roster spot on that young team because they don't have a whole lot of talent. Zegras looks like he could be really good. The Ducks could make some noise. I like the Ducks over the Wild at the bottom of this division, but the Sharks too. The Sharks have a lot of talent too. Burnsy is there, Brent Burns, and Martin Jones too as well. They still have a good core group. They just lost everyone. They lost Joe Thornton. They lost Carlson's still there, but he's back into his career.
They lost Pavelski 2 years ago.
They lost Pavelski. They lost Donskoy. They lost so many good players from that team that was in the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago. Yeah. But after they beat the Avs, they were right there. So this team, I don't know where it dropped off so big. But letting your captain go for Pavelski in free agency, not a good sign. And then Joe Thornton back into his career, makes sense to let him go. But still, he was the locker room leader. And that's going to hurt your team a big time.
And all those California teams are going to be on the road, even at their home games. San Jose, I don't know about Los Angeles and Anaheim with the Kings and Ducks, but San Jose is actually scheduled to play all of their home games in Arizona because their county won't allow their team to have won't allow their team to practice in their county. Moving on to the Central.
You want to talk about the top of the West real quick?
Okay, we'll talk about the top of the West.
Let's have the argument of second place. Because Avs are going to win the division. Both of us say that. We're biased, but it's hard to
biased, kind of.
Biased, kind of, but it's not like we're idiots.
No, everybody that I've listened to says that the Avs are definitely a contender. It's going to come down to experience and goaltending for them.
If Grubauer can stay healthy and Francois can get going too, I'm hoping.
Francois going to have the sweetest helmet in
he does
in
have
a game.
A pretty nice mask. Yeah, that's a pretty nice cap there. But with the Avs, Bowen Byram could make the roster too. We saw him along the juniors. He was the best. He's the most NHL ready player we saw in the juniors.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. He and Alex Newhook as well for Canada. Both those players the Avalanche are just storming with talent. The question with the Avs is, can Cale Makar take the next step? Can you get a full healthy season from Grubauer and Francois? And then you're a Stanley Cup team. Mm-hmm. But that's if. You have to stay healthy.
Make sure the defense stays healthy.
The defense especially, too. Because, because with the COVID year, you got to think, Byron will be on the fringe, but
he'll at least be taxi squad.
He will be taxi squad, but that's going to be big this year.
Yeah.
With COVID and players.
We saw it with the
games.
practice squad in the NFL. Sometimes you get guys to be able to come in and actually produce, and they weren't they're not going to be a starter, but they can come in and give you
exactly. Some of those games where if a guy gets COVID for one game and he has to miss out 4 games, maybe Byram has to step in. So that's where it's nice for the Avs have a lot of depth. So that's a good thing. But
that defense. That was the big problem against the Stars at the end of that series, losing Johnson early on in the playoffs, and then Gerard. He's a good offensive defenseman, but he lacked a lot. He did a dive block on that last goal that the Stars scored to be able to win that game, and he went vertical instead of horizontal, so he gave the guy two-way go. So the defense is going to be my big thing. And Cale Makar, do not. I repeat, I'm wearing your jersey, so obviously I got some faith in you, but do not turn the puck over in your own zone. That is the easiest way to hurt your team and to put immense pressure on your goaltenders, especially by the time that Dallas Stars series was where we were at in that series. We were on a third-string goalie.
Yeah,
a guy who was playing for the Eagles 2 weeks before.
I know you hate that series more than anything, but I give us a pass because of the injuries we had. Like we said, we were on our third goalie. If Grubauer and Francois can stay healthy, we'll be just fine. Yeah. So I'm not worried about that at all. I think we'll still be fine because we were the better team. And right now, considering we added Devin Taves, fantastic addition. Yeah. Islanders gave him up for nothing. Absolutely stupid.
Joe Sakic has got to have something. Every other GM.
Joe Sakic is a genius. Yeah. He's a genius. He's done something right. I know you were calling for his head not too long ago, saying Sakic and GM needs to leave because the Avs were on the verge of losing.
That was before free agency.
That was before. You were saying GM needs to go after the playoffs, and I said park the bus because I know what Joe Sakic did.
It's mainly Bednar that I want out, but we'll
if we don't win, that's something we talk about at the end of the year. I know you were. I physically remember saying Jimmy park the bus and Joe Sakic because he's a genius.
This is true. And then I came back the next week after free agency started, and I was like, I was totally wrong. I admit that. He was just looking for an assist, and he was able to find one. That was cool.
So the future is bright. We just got to get healthy, have a full season of healthiness, and hopefully no COVID problems either. And get me fans back to the arena because seeing fans at the playoff games in Buffalo and everywhere, why the hell can't they allow 1,000 fans into an arena here in Denver? Why the hell not? I'll be safe. I'll get tested 10 times a week. I don't give a damn. Just let me go to a game.
I just need some playoff hockey in my life. I've wanted to go to. I've never been to a playoff hockey game, and that's what I want to do more than anything this year. Hopefully, or maybe next year. I said it on Two for Chirping. I wish and I hope that we'll be able to get some fans there during the season. But if I can't go, and it's for the betterment and the safety of everybody else, I'll understand. Hopefully we get it back in 2022. But let's have this argument for the second best team in this division.
The second best team in the division, I think, is 100% the Knights. I think the Knights added a lot more. They're a very good team. Fleury at net, that is just a royalty to have. Fleury is a Stanley Cup proven winner, and he knows exactly what it takes to win. He may be on the back end of his career, but with goalies, you can see them go on forever.
He's also a backup.
I think St. Louis. Yeah, I think St. Louis may have dropped down a little bit. I think they've fallen off a little bit. They lost a few pieces, and they let some guys walk very easily. And I think St. Louis won't be as good.
Yeah.
They let a few guys walk, like I said.
I think Pietrangelo is going to hurt them a lot on the defensive end.
So they have some problems there. I think it's obviously Colorado, Vegas, St. Louis, 50 feet of crap, and everyone else.
Yeah.
So
the fourth seed in this division is going to just be lucky to. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah.
Hope I can win a couple games, but I'm not looking for anything specific. Now moving on to the Central, the defending Stanley Cup champions, the Lightning, are in the Central. That's weird to say because they're from Florida, but right now I have it in the Central: Lightning, Blue Jackets, Hurricanes. Stars are my fourth in this division, and then everybody else, like the Blackhawks, Panthers, Predators, and Red Wings. Red Wings, thank you for still being one of the worst franchises in hockey. It makes me so happy to be able to say that and it actually be factual. But I think that this is the Lightning's division to lose. The Blue Jackets and Hurricanes will compete, but Dallas is already having COVID issues badly. So this division is kind of a two-team race, and then everybody else will just be competing to see where they jockey after that.
I think this division is Tampa Bay and everyone else, if I'm being honest. I think the second spot could be argued for a lot more teams than just Columbus and Carolina. I think the Blackhawks, they're ass. Let's not worry about them. I don't have to worry about that. But Dallas could make that. They could come back in the picture. Florida with Bobrovsky and net, they could make some noise. Ekblad as well. He's held out though, so that could be a problem. With Nashville too. Nashville has been an okay team, and they're not that far away from a President's Trophy. Mm-hmm. They still have good young talent. They still have good talent, not young anymore, but good talent.
Pretty old now.
Pretty old now. Maybe they need to move on from Pecorine sooner or later and get Saros in the net as their number one netminder. But Nashville could make some noise. Like I said, it's Tampa Bay and everyone else. It's Tampa Bay's division to lose 100%. The rest of the division is going to be buttheads, I think.
I think Tampa could possibly win the President's Trophy this year based on the rest of the teams in their division.
It's just weird having the two Stanley Cup finalists in the same division.
Yeah, that was kind of
very
strange.
Weird.
Obviously, they couldn't put the Lightning in the East because then there would be 14 teams in the East with that if you were just going based off region. So now, quickly, we're starting our segments this time on Two for Chirping. So we'll skip over. We'll talk about maybe end of season awards and Final Four a little bit later in the season.
I need to come on because I need to chirp them boys about the Canadian loss. I just tell you that right now. I need to come on.
I didn't go as hard as you wanted me to, but I was also I don't know those guys as well. We got into it a little bit. He called me an American that didn't know anything, which was perfectly fine because when it comes to hockey, Americans do know quite a bit less than the Canadians do. That's just because.
Wait till 2022 when we take gold and the NHL is back in the Olympics. And
at the BleacherCon 1, at the BleacherCon 2, and at Two for Chirping because they'll be able to see it all on there. But we have a segment called Studs and Duds, which is basically the best of the week and worst of the week. And it could be player, GM, anything like that. So help me come up with my stud and dud for this week on Two for Chirping. I'm probably not gonna lie, Sack is probably gonna be my stud just because what he's been able to do in the offseason, and I gotta give kudos to the captain. He's still the captain of the ship. But who do you think should be my dud for the this first segment of Two for Chirping?
I would say arguably you could put stud there for Corey Crawford. He just retired. He had a great career in Chicago. He just decided to call it quits. Unfortunately, that's a tough. I forgot where he was, but he was in New Jersey. That's a tough pill for New Jersey after signing him and him retiring. That could be argument for stud. For dud, I don't know. I would maybe go Detroit. Just pick the Red Wings. Just pick the Red Wings.
The Red Wings as a whole.
Just pick because their jerseys, everything about them.
Yeah.
That's Hockey Town USA, and they are not that anymore. They are not that anymore. You do not deserve. Ever since they left the Joe Louis Arena, ass, absolute ass. Just say Little Caesars Arena. There's your dud of the week. Little Caesars Arena, where the Pistons and the Red Wings play together. Because the Pistons suck. Jeremy Grant's played well, but that arena is your dud.
All right, I'll take it. And I always love throwing shade at the Red Wings anyways, because they've had plenty of success. One of the MVP trophies is named after one of their best players of all time. And then, obviously, they had Gordie Howe and all those other guys. Well, let's go ahead and get into most dominant team of the week. Do you want to do most dominant team before the break or after? Because we can maybe do it after and then lead into the pick'em as well. So
let's do it after.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here a little bit from our partners at the Unhinged Sports Network, and we'll be back with the rest of this episode. You're listening to The Far End of the Bench on the Unhinged Sports Network. This episode. What's up, Benchwarmers of the Unhinged Sports Network? Jimmy Pilato, Nico Bryant, and we got some more things to talk to you about because, yes, you can't get anything for Christmas at this point on Fanatics, but it doesn't mean that it's too late to go get your favorite sports fan a new thing to add to his collection. Whatever you want, jerseys, shirts, coasters. I'm pretty sure I saw stickers on there. You can still get anything through the link in our bio for Fanatics. It helps out the Unhinged Sports Network as a whole.
There's a lot of good stuff. I mean, the SEC championship gear, ACC championship gear, and by this time, you'll probably still be listening to, you'll maybe see national championship gear, Rose Bowl gear, whatever it may be. Anything you want, literally anything. And you can find it on Fanatics, man. Use the link. Make sure to hit the link in our link tree that's in all of our bios, man, because all that stuff is going to be fantastic. Gotta use the link, though. Have to use the link.
At FEOTB Pod, all social medias. Go get you some new stuff from Fanatics. Help out the Unhinged Sports Network. Thanks, guys. Welcome back, Benchwarmers. Be sure to check out Fubo and Fanatics. We tweeted it out last night. If you're an Alabama fan, at the Scott family, go get yourself some national championship gear. Shout out Charlie
Championship Chuck.
Championship Chuck. That's true. Three rings in a season. You want to talk about ring season, that's something, but they do have the national championship gear up on there. Use the link in our bio at FEOTB Pod. Help out the Unhinged Sports Network as a whole, and it's great stuff. You can get whatever you want.
A lot of great stuff. You're going to see.
I didn't get this from Fanatics because they didn't have my size, but I would have.
You can get yourself a USA Hockey jersey. Mm-hmm. There you go. I mean, you can't get this one because this is an old Nike one, but you can get the nice new ones on there. So go check that out.
The new sweaters are pretty nice, and then Fubo TV. It's a great way if you want cable, but don't have to pay for cable. I know a lot of the guys on the network started using it, and they're like, I saved like $30 or $40. Mm-hmm. So those are two great things that we have. Let's go ahead. Most dominant team of the last week, and then we'll get into our divisional round pick'em and finish out the show with our normal segments. But most dominant team of the week for me, it's interesting because they didn't win by as much as I thought they were going to. But looking at some of the stats, Buffalo Bills, Stephon Diggs had over 160 yards receiving. Josh Allen, over 300 yards passing. That team, like I said earlier on in the show, they're the scariest team, I think, to the Chiefs that is left in the AFC side of this playoffs. So they're my most dominant team of the week.
Can I pick Alabama? Can I pick Alabama?
I was going to pick a college team actually a couple weeks ago, but we never had that discussion. If you wanted to pick Alabama, you can.
I'm not going to do it for the sake of keeping with tradition, but I would say Alabama deserves this. But I'm going to go Cleveland Browns. I'll pick the Browns because they're probably going to get their shit rocked against Kansas City.
You agree with Chase? They're going to get clapped this week?
Yeah, they're probably going to get their ass clapped this weekend. I'm probably going to eat my words the week from now, but I wouldn't be mad if you had to. I'll pick the Browns because of what they did in their first quarter. I'm honorable mention Alabama football, but I'm picking Browns.
Honorable mention Alabama. That makes sense. Now let's go ahead and get into the pick. And we actually didn't do too bad last week. I didn't do great. No.
I went 500.
Yeah, I think I still have most of my bracket intact. The only one that I lost, I don't know if I actually can't remember if I picked Washington in the upset when I sent you the final.
You picked the Bucs.
Yeah. Okay, so I had a pretty good week, but now it's getting down to the nitty-gritty. If you're listening to NFL Unhinged, be sure to tune into that on Saturday and Sunday, because we got games both days. And then we'll have the long video on Sunday morning on our YouTube channel. But we're doing points for the playoff pick'em. So 1 point for wild card, 2 points for divisional round. 1 point for wild card divisional, 2 points for championship, and then 5 points for the Super Bowl. Right now we got the Rams and Packers, Ravens, Bills, Browns, Chiefs, Buccaneers, Saints, and we will be calling the Rams and Packers game. So sorry to your voice, but you're gonna have to make sure you drink a lot of tea.
I'm gonna have to have my cup of cocoa right next to me while we're doing that, man. Because that's gonna be a headache. It's gonna be a long week.
Tune in on Colorcast on iOS only so far, but we've been having a lot of fun with those broadcasts.
Maybe a possible partnership. We got to look at. Maybe.
We got a meeting later in the week, but Rams Packers. I agree with everything that you were saying earlier about the Packers just being that team. And the Rams having to go up to Lambeau I haven't checked the weather for the weekend, but even if the weather is bad, Packers proved against the Titans that snow doesn't really affect them. Devontae Adams can still cut on a dime in the snow, and Aaron Rodgers has no problem throwing touchdowns in 3 feet of snow or on a sunny and 75-degree day. Like we said last night on the national championship broadcast, he has more touchdown passes than JK has punts on the season. 48 touchdown passes, 46 punts.
Crazy.
Dude, he's going to have an MVP season, which sucks because I think Josh Allen has had an MVP
He
caliber
deserves
season.
it, but Aaron Rodgers also deserves it. Josh Allen, you'll get yourself an MVP soon. I'll say that.
Like we said last week, we shouldn't pick this game, but I'll ask you, who are you picking in this game?
I'm picking the Packers, obviously. I'm picking the Packers because they're my Super Bowl favorites out of the NFC. After my dumbass picked the Seahawks preseason, I changed my mind and went to the Packers, so I'm picking Packers here. The Rams' offense isn't going to be able to keep going, but I'll pick the Packers here to win. I'm not going to say I'm rooting for the Packers, wink, wink, but I want Aaron Rodgers to win the Super Bowl.
There you go. I also have the Packers. Honestly, there's not a whole bunch of upsets I could see happening this weekend, but it would be interesting to see if they did happen. Next game, Ravens-Bills. I really hope that the Ravens get their comeuppance for what they did at the end of that game last week. Not just because we're closeted Titans fans, just as a football fan in general. I don't think that you should ever behave that way after a win. Yes, it was a huge win, and that's Lamar Jackson's first playoff win. Do it like you've been there before. And just do that for me. Just for me. Just for me sitting here in Denver, Colorado. Just do that for me, please. But I'm going Bills in this one because I think Josh Allen and that offense will still be humming. And their defense doesn't have to play great because their offense can score and kind of cover up their warts, but their defense is pretty talented as well.
You know what? I'm going to go against you. I'm picking the Ravens because
You just want to piss me off, huh?
No, I'm doing it for... There's a few reasons why. One, Charles Barkley curse. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. It's a real thing, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm not saying... So it's going to come up sooner or later.
Oh, you don't want Josh Allen to be close to a Super Bowl because the Broncos could have drafted him.
Also, hold on. Let me finish my take here.
Okay.
I want Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship because I want Patrick Mahomes to kick his ass.
There you go.
I will be rooting for the Bills. However, I think the Ravens are going to win this game. I want the Bills to win, but I after my dumbass picked the Washington football team, and I picked the Titans, and I have the worst record on NFL hands right now, I'm pretty sure, after the first round of playoffs. So I need to make up some ground. I think the Ravens are going to win this game. They were able to slow down Derrick Henry and that game plan. I feel like they're going to have a game plan to go against Josh Allen now. So I'm picking the Ravens here to win this game. I'm rooting for the Bills. Don't get me wrong, I'm rooting for the Bills. But I'm picking the Ravens because I think they're going to win.
Yeah, it's not outlandish. It's probably one of the closer matchups.
I think it's the best game of the weekend,
yeah,
100%.
I think it's going to be the best matchup of the weekend. Moving on, the Cinderella story, Browns going into Kansas City to play Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes off a bye week. I don't think I have to ask for your pick on this one. I have the Chiefs just because, the Browns, maybe, we've been saying it for a few different teams.
Don't say it. The Browns, don't say
I'm
it.
not, no,
Don't
not
say
that.
it.
Not that. I think they got a little bit too excited too early. And do they have anything left? Because when that happens, like when you arrive somewhere early, it's very taxing. And they did it 2 weeks in a row because they did it to beat the Steelers in Week 17 to make the playoffs, and then they did it again in the wild card round. Having Kevin Stefanski back could be an X factor. Who knows? But the Chiefs, until proven otherwise, I think the Chiefs are the best team in this conference and the Super Bowl.
Look, the Browns are not the Browns anymore. I will not add fuel to the fire because this team is good, but they're 1 or 2 years still away from the Super Bowl. Chiefs are that team still. Getting 2 bye weeks basically for Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. They haven't showed their offense in 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. I mean, they really haven't done much.
They could have a totally new playbook at
exactly.
this point.
So for that matter, the Browns' defense, they are pretty good. Going to give them a lot of credit, but Chiefs are going to win here big. Like I said, I want Chiefs-Ravens AFC Championship so the Chiefs can pummel them.
Yeah, and it's always good to see Colin Clownherd have to eat his words because, he said that the Browns weren't going to win last week because Baker Mayfield had his hat backwards in an interview. That's his thing. Like, if you have a backwards hat, you're not a franchise quarterback.
And then he turned his hat backwards in the post-game interview. I love Baker for that reason.
Yeah, Baker, if you go after
Baker's
Baker,
a fun guy.
He doesn't forget. He's like an elephant. He'll always remember. He never forgets a slide.
I'm just glad he got a playoff win because all the commercials, all that just ate at him, and now he's playoff win, so he can talk a little.
Those commercials are pretty funny.
They are funny.
They're getting better too. He's a good actor. He's got a career after football. Maybe he'll be the next Dan Marino, be in Ace Ventura 3. Next, we'll move on to the last game of the weekend. Like we said, third time's a charm. it's where I am a little bit hesitant for this game, but it's tough to pick against the Saints for me, especially at home. Until they go on the road, that's when I think they're going to fall apart. But I'm going Saints over the Buccaneers. I think they beat them 3-0 against their division rival this year, which does make me hesitate a little bit because it's tough.
It makes you worry a lot.
It's tough to beat a team twice in a year. 3 times is damn near impossible. But I'm going to stick with New Orleans, and I'll go with Saints over the Buccaneers.
Look, I'm going to pick the Saints here too because I want Drew Brees to have one last run. Like I said, I want him to have one last send-off necessarily. I don't know if he'll be able to do that next round playing the Packers, but either way, whoever the winner of this game is, I just hope we get an Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady matchup or an Aaron Rodgers versus Drew Brees matchup because that would be fantastic. If we get an Aaron Rodgers versus Drew Brees or Tom Brady matchup and then a Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen matchup, what more can you ask for? What more can you ask for? The 4 best quarterbacks or 5 best quarterbacks in the league right now. I'm picking the Saints here. Saints dominated.
Yep.
Saints dominated. We could have picked them for the most dominant team of the week. I just picked the Browns because of the meme purpose. Yeah. But the Saints could make a lot of noise going forward. The Bears had no right being in that game. I thought it was going to be closer than I thought, but they just blew them out of the water. The Bucs did not look good. They were struggling against Taylor Heineke and a under 500 Washington football team. That worries me a lot. I'm picking the Saints here big.
And Cam Jordan's owned Tristan Wirfs this season. It's not like he loses a majority of the time. Cam Jordan can do whatever he wants to Tristan Wirfs at this point until proven otherwise. Like I said, and that could be totally different. Going back to the Saints as the most dominant team of the week, it's just because they were playing the Bills for me.
Or the Bears,
that's what I meant. Playing the Bears. They didn't have to do anything spectacular to win, and they really didn't.
We could have said most dominant team of the week, the Slime Cannons.
Yeah. Also, did you realize that Drew Brees broke 11 ribs when he was injured?
I didn't know it was 11 ribs.
11 ribs. That's what they were saying during the broadcast. You only have 24.
Jesus Christ.
So
it's a miracle he's playing right now.
It's his last. I hope it's his last season because his body.
Come to Monday Night Football, Drew Brees. Be the head of Monday Night Football once Louis Riddick gets a job as GM somewhere.
I know where you want him to get the job as a GM.
It's not looking likely anymore, but
that's going to be it for the pick'em. We'll be sure to. Maybe we'll change them on NFL Unhinged. Be sure to.
I probably won't change my things on NFL Unhinged, but
I don't get to pick on NFL.
I'm picking different than my original championship picks because I had the Seahawks in my NFC Championship, and that doesn't work.
Yeah,
and then I had the Bills in my NFC Championship, and then I picked the Ravens now. Mm-hmm. So I did differ. I did differ from the beginning.
It'll be interesting.
My bracket is going to be fucked either way that we posted on Instagram, but.
Yeah, that is true. I'm just waiting to see what you and Kelsey can argue about this weekend because it's always something with the two of you. And that's
I was just telling Phil Rivers to play like I know how he played, and you fuck yourself.
Shout out High Low Sports at high_lows_sports on Twitter.
And now all of us don't have playoff teams anymore because the Bears and the Colts lost. So now, if you want completely unbiased opinions about the playoffs,
Jim and Brady. Jim has a weird fetish for Brady, but.
They're going to lose this week anyway, so it doesn't matter.
All right, let's get into our ending of the show segments, and then we'll talk a little bit more about Jonah coming on at the end of this week. But we'll go we'll start with Benchwarmer of the Week because we deprived you guys of it last week. I'll let you go first because I mentioned mine to you before we started recording.
I'll talk about mine from last week. It was originally Doug Peterson, but he got fired now. So
he's not even a benchwarmer anymore.
He played himself. So my Benchwarmer of the Week, it's Mr. Corvette himself. I mean, Juju, you're an idiot. I could put Juju and Claypool together.
I was going to say, you could put
I could put both of them.
I
could put both of them in there. Juju, you're a fun guy to talk. If you're a fun guy, you enjoy the game of football, but don't be stupid. Don't be. I could have picked Jamal Adams too. Jamal Adams is. I'm going to say bench warmers of the week. Jamal Adams, Chase Claypool, and Juju all fall into that category of being dumbasses for the week coming ahead. For the week ahead.
Yeah.
So they're all bench warmer of the week. Juju more especially because Corvette, ladies and gentlemen.
I think Juju's more of an influencer that just happens to play football on the weekends. Yeah. That's what he's really trying to be. Maybe Big Ben will transition to TikTok. Maybe that's the next step of his year.
Please don't put that on TikTok.
Well, then Kelsey won't have to talk to us about doing the dances anymore. You can just talk about Ben doing the dances. My benchwarmer of the week, it sucks to say, but it's Marquise Pouncey. I was kind of going to take him off the list because he did retire recently, but as a center, when you snap the ball that far over a 6'5" quarterback's head and then give up a touchdown on the first play of a playoff game, it's really tough to come back from that. So Marquise Pouncey, don't shoot me. Don't send your guys after me, please. Because we talked about that Florida team. It's dicey.
We got to stop this
Very
conversation real quick, Jimmy. We don't want to get ourselves in trouble
All right,
over here.
there we go. But Marquise Pouncey, congratulations on a great career. You're the Benchwarmer of the week. All right, let's get into the beats of the week. Win some people some money. What do you have first for beats of the week?
I know we probably both picked one game the same, but I did a little bit different. My first beats of the week, I have the Avalanche, the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Pittsburgh Penguins to win on opening night, parlay, plus 3 to 88. The Avalanche are playing the Blues. Tampa Bay, I forgot who Tampa Bay is playing. Pittsburgh is playing Washington as well. 3-game parlay, plus 388. Pretty good odds. I mean, like I said, Tampa Bay and Avs are the Cup favorites right now. I expect both of them to win on opening night. Pittsburgh, I think people are sleeping on Pittsburgh. So that's my opening beat of the week, that parlay.
They're playing the Blackhawks opening night.
Yeah, so I like that a lot.
Yeah, they're actually the primetime game on NBC Sports because they are the Stanley Cup champions. So my first one is Tampa Bay, but I see where you got that. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're plus 137 on the road against New Orleans, and like we said, beating a team 3 times in a season is tough, and that's probably one of the better underdog lines that you'll be able to see right now. That's actually kind of realistic. Some of them are better payouts, but I just don't see them happening. So I'm going to go with Tampa plus 137 on the road against the Saints.
That's fair. I'll stick with football then. My next one is Packers versus Rams. Hit the under 45.5 points. I hate betting the under, but I think the under is going to hit because I don't think LA is going to be able to put up a lot of points. I think the Packers will. I think they'll be able to cover it by themselves, but I don't think the Rams will. And then it'll come to a point where Aaron Jones is just running the ball at 2 o'clock. So give me the under 45.5 points on Rams Packers.
Yeah, I don't like that. My next one is actually another over under. Nathan McKinnon on FanDuel right now. And if you're listening to this on Wednesday before the game happens, go ahead, get your money in now because who knows what this line does before then. But when I saw it earlier today, Nathan McKinnon is plus 136 to score over half a goal.
Which means he scores.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if he scores and you put down money plus 136, that's good. And I think that he has a shot for the Art Ross, which is a scoring championship in the NHL. So definitely put money on
I think there's a pretty good
points.
history on Nathan McKinnon scoring on opening night, too. I don't know the exact stat of it because I didn't pull it up on me, but I think that it's a pretty good high chance of that happening.
He's the most skilled player in the NHL. He can do whatever he wants with the puck, and that also includes putting it in the net as many times as basically he wants. So
Exactly.
plus 136, I like that.
Yeah, sorry, to go back, I didn't say the odds. It was plus 150 for the under on the Packers-Rams game. But for my last one, UFC's back this weekend, baby. We're back. Max Holloway, one of the most fun fighters to watch. Saturday night after the games, if you aren't doing anything, go throw on ESPN Plus. Go watch the fights because there's a pretty good card coming up. Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar. I think this is going to go the distance, but Max Holloway by decision at plus 125. Holloway is a scrappy fighter, but he doesn't really get a lot of finishes. Neither does Kattar. So give me Holloway to win by decision plus 125.
Yeah, those two are, I think the most famous Max Holloway highlight is when, can't remember who he was fighting. Was it Cub Swanson? Where they just kind of pointed at the ground, like we're going to stand here and we're just going to throw. So I can see that happening this week because I know Cater is kind of the same way where he just likes to bite down on his mouthpiece and go. I don't hate that, and I love that the UFC is coming back. We'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the month.
Yeah, hopefully I can get my money back because I've been losing a lot lately betting on some dumb sports, and UFC is where I get most of my profit. So hopefully I can get some money back.
There you go. My last one is also for the Avalanche because this is our NHL preview show technically. The Avs are plus 140 to win the West right now. We said it. They're the favorites for a reason, and it's not just us. It's everybody that I've heard talk about it so far saying that they do have a very good chance. And it's the West Division, the West Division, not the Western Conference. And I think that they can win that division pretty easily. So plus 140 for the Avs to win the West. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I don't hate that either. Obviously, I don't hate that at all.
Well, I'll throw this one out there. It's not going to be one of my beats of the week, but right now the Nuggets are plus 750 to win the Western Conference. If they can kind of get their shit together, do you think that's a good bet to take at this point?
We just need to get our shit together. I don't know what the odds on this right now, but Jokic for MVP, I like that a lot more.
I looked at that too. I think it's a little bit lower, but plus 750 is kind of what caught my eye for the Western Conference Championship, so that's why I went with them.
To make the Western Conference Championship?
No, to win the Western Conference.
Yeah, I just don't know with the Lakers. That's
true.
That's the only problem.
Moving on we'll do Player of the Week first. Do we have?
I'll let you go first because I know what yours is, and I decided to go a different direction.
I was gonna say
I went a different direction because you'd probably win this anyway. So I'll let you go ahead.
I was gonna say we could have probably done a unanimous player of the week, but then there were some other pretty good performances from this same game. But Devontae Smith, 1 half of football, 12 receptions, 215 yards, 3 touchdowns, and if he would have played in the second half, who knows how many points Alabama would have scored. And he broke the SEC receiving yardage record in a bowl season game in a half because he played, I think, a few plays in the second half before he dislocated his finger. And that was what the injury was. We didn't get to hear it because we didn't have the sound on the broadcast, but that was an absolute... If I've ever seen a Heisman performance, that's the new standard for a Heisman performance after you win that trophy. Nick
Saban was playing NCAA 14 on easy mode. Let's be honest.
I don't even know if it's easy mode. He's just built his team up to the point where it's not even fun to play anymore. I've been there. I did it. Nerdy gamer talk. I did one with Boston College to where I simulated the last 3 years of my contract and was like, I only lost one game in that 3 year span. I was in the national championship every single year just because I recruited like Nick Saban did at Alabama. Nobody could touch me at that point. But yeah, I agree with you. It's pretty easy for him at this point.
I was going to say Mac Jones for here because he deserved it as well. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to go a different direction because I didn't want to pick the same game. So I'm going to pick Nicole Yokic. Nicole Yokic is playing unreal right now. He's averaging a triple-double as a center, ladies and gentlemen. He leads the league in triple-doubles right now. 24 points, 11 rebounds, 10.5 assists per game, 30... he's the first number one usage percentage in the league at 30%. The dude is basically the whole Nuggets team right now. He is carrying this team. He has played outstanding numbers. The disrespect to him not being a top 5 MVP voting after the first month is ridiculous. Ridiculous. They had Embiid in the top 5. And the only reason for that is because the Sixers are a top 2 seed in the East, and that's not on Embiid. That's not on Embiid. If Jokic is putting unreal numbers up, the rest of the team just needs to get figured out. But Jokic is my player of the week. I would say player of the last couple of weeks because he's played really good at the start of the season.
Yeah, now I would say you'd probably win that before we got on the Sports Network. And now that we have people who listen just outside of Colorado, it might not be as popular to pick him. But I do agree with you. He's having a career season, and hopefully he starts getting the respect.
Hopefully everyone else get going and make his life easier.
But he should start getting the respect he deserves from everybody else around the league. Charles Barkley, I know that you don't want him to praise Nikola Jokic because we don't need that kind of heat on us, but as a former big man, he should be given a lot more love than what Jokic is getting at this point. Go ahead and give me your player.
Don't put that shame on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't put that shame on.
Don't stick that knife in your leg. Be sure to check out the film room review if you're bored and don't want to watch the NFC the late games on Saturday. I believe it starts.
We need to figure out a better time slot for that, buddy.
Well, I mean, it sucks right now, but during the offseason, it's going to be popping. But film room review, the same episode will be replayed. It gets replayed every month. Don't hate us. I got a life too. I don't need to be recording 18 shows every single week. I'm already recording.
We have a life.
I'm recording 5-6 days out of this week already. So be sure to check out the film review. It's 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern on Saturday night. But give me your play of the week, and then we'll be able to send the people home.
Play of the week, it was kudos to what your benchwarmer of the week was. It was the Marquise Pouncey bad snap and the Cleveland Browns touchdown, because I still want fans to forget about the Broncos Super Bowl with the Seahawks.
Look over here.
I just want people to forget about that bad snap and try to highlight on this snap.
There you go.
So, Browns touchdown, opening play of the game, really sick. Give me that play of the week.
Yeah, it was huge. For the Browns to have their first play in the playoffs in 25 years be a touchdown, nobody would have. If you put money on that, I'm sure there was a prop somewhere about that.
Touchdown, yeah.
And first touchdown on the first play of the game. I'm sure there was some sort of prop on that. If you bet that, send us at FEOTB Pod on Instagram or Twitter what you won out, because I'm sure that you made a pretty penny for that one. I'm staying in the same game as you because I didn't get to see yours before this, but I'm going to continue to give Nick Chubb love because he's my second favorite running back in the league behind Joe Mixon, only because Joe Mixon is on my team. But that 40-yard screen pass that he caught for a touchdown, him and Kareem Hunt,
they're kicking in high gear in playoffs, baby.
Thank you. I didn't want to have to do it again.
I'll say it this week.
When I was live tweeting the game, I called him Kick Kareem Hunt. I thought that was kind of funny. But and then Rev, shout out Rev, former guest on this show for our UFC bonus episode.
They see him soon too.
We might see him soon with the big event coming up at the end of the month. But he put on his Instagram story, wow, Kareem Hunt's really treating us like a racist white girl in the hallway right now, because he is a big Steelers fan. But Nick Chubb, 40-yard screen pass for a touchdown, broke a couple tackles like he does every single week. He's definitely the better of that tandem that came out of Georgia from that year. Sony Michel was explosive in college, but man, Nick Chubb in the NFL is something to behold. As a former offensive lineman and fullback, we can appreciate great running back.
We love a good running game. We absolutely love a good running game.
And that's what kept the Browns that's what got the Browns this far.
Sure.
Run the ball, play action with Baker. That's it. And that'll wrap up our segments. Let's go ahead. Like we said, Jonah's coming on the show, possibly with his wife Hannah, who's also his business partner. They're Jonah Mitchell Fitness at Jonah Mitchell Fitness on Instagram. I believe he sent me we'll announce it here, and then we'll talk about it more on the episode.
Yeah,
as well.
We're very excited for it, man. Jonah he's a former teammate of yours.
Yep,
he's a great following on Instagram, great fitness following. We're going to do some more things with him in the future, possibly a time with Jonah or something corny along those lines. We'll come up with a better name than that corny ass shit.
Well,
but we'll figure out some good stuff to do with him. He'll be wearing some of our merch because we have adult men's league coming up, and I'll get him a jersey. I'll get you a jersey too. So we're having a bunch of fun stuff there. A lot of fun content coming out. We're more than just a podcast at this point. Podcast, this is our main thing. We love doing this every week, but we love social media interaction. We love the YouTube videos. We love spreading we love doing all the shows on the network. We're podcasters. This is our show. We love being podcast of the year, but we're so much more than that.
Yeah, and with that partnership with Jonah at Jonah Mitchell Fitness on Instagram, he's going to have a special offer for our listeners. If you mention to him and follow that account on Instagram at Jonah Mitchell _ Fitness on Instagram, and follow us on Instagram at FEOTB Pod as Nico.
As I'm choking, Jesus Christ.
But if you follow both those accounts on Instagram and then let him know that you heard about him through this podcast, he will have a one-on-one session and take an in-depth look at your lifestyle and kind of give you some tips. And you can see if you want to continue moving forward with his training regimen. I've been doing his Athlete for Life challenge that he and Hannah started a couple weeks ago with a bunch of people that he knew that were former athletes in college, because that's what he's kind of focused on now, is trying to bring that mindset. And we'll talk about it on Friday. But one of the main things that I wanted to talk about is when you stop playing and you're not an athlete anymore, trying to take that mindset and not lose what you had as a collegiate athlete, but also better your life forward. So
we will reiterate that too on social media. So if you guys are listening to this on Thursday or Friday when the episode comes out, we'll reiterate all this information. So there'll be more time to do all that. So don't worry about it right now if you guys are scrambling and still listening on the network.
Yeah, follow both those pages on Instagram, and then also share that you're listening to the episode and tag both our accounts in it. And he'll go ahead and set up a one-on-one meeting with you. He does Zoom as well. So if you're not in Colorado, because his gym in person is in North Denver, if you're not in Colorado, he'll do Zoom. I'm actually doing kind of a remote thing that Athlete for Life challenges people from all over the country. And it's still working great. I'm down 10 pounds already. I started at 270. I'm 260 right now. I feel great, eating a lot better and everything like that. So it's not just because he's a friend. I think that he's got a good brand that we're
going to get you in basketball shape, Jamie, so we can have you run up and down the court with us. That's all I want.
You ever seen the end of Grown Ups when they're playing the game against their former childhood teams and the two centers are like, hey, you want to fake an injury to get out of this? That would be me within the first 5 minutes. I've played basketball, like pickup basketball before. It's a hell of a workout. I have a lot of respect for what you guys do. No wonder you guys run so many damn suicides. But yeah, this has been a fun episode. It's been great.
It's been a lot of fun. There's so much to talk about. Mm-hmm. We talk about hockey, football, basketball, literally every single sport besides the one sport our city hates more than anything. So we'll talk about that in the future. But we talked everything, man. Talked a bit of little UFC too, man.
Yeah.
Everything. National championship. What a great episode, man.
It was a fun one, and we had that recap of the national championship from last night.
Catch that on YouTube as well. We'll have that on YouTube.
We were talking a little bit the other day, taking a second to kind of look at where we've come in the small time that we've been doing this show. I wanted to thank everybody who's listened so far on our on-demand platforms, YouTube, the network, because we're still killing it on the network as well. We want to thank the network, Jim and Carlos and everybody who started that before us, that took a chance on us, because we had 3 episodes out by the time they reached out to us. It's been a whole hell of a lot of fun so far, and I can't wait to see whatever else we come up with, because I'm sure I'm always running. I texted you today. I'm always running goofy ideas through my head, and then I kind of put them out there to you to see. You either say, yeah, that's good, or wow, that was really dumb. And I go, yeah, that was kind of dumb.
I have idiot takes too, so I'm not the smartest person either. We're it's two minds in this. Jimmy and I are working. Our partnership has been great. Like we said, the last month on the network alone, we've hit over 200 listens, which is fantastic. It's the number one on the network. Not trying to flex, but we are podcast of the year. So I mean, that's just a little flex, but I mean, we're still going to keep growing. Like we said, we have a lot of great things in the future. We can't thank you all enough, because our partnerships and all the fun content we're going to have for you. Podcasting is our thing, but we're much more than that.
Yeah, it's a great thing. Check us out on NFL Unhinged Saturday and Sunday this week. Also Sunday on YouTube for the video version of that show. Niko, catch him on 3 in the Key. Maybe I'll come on when I start to get basketball down a little bit better. But him and the reserves and Dennis from Sports and Things have been having great bi-weekly episodes. They air originally on every other Monday.
Yep, so we'll be back next week. We weren't here this week, but we'll be back next week. More than likely, we'll have Jim as well from the J-Dash Show, the head of the commissioner, as our first guest.
Yeah, and then listen to Two for Chirping every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Mountain Time. Me, Ken, and Trevor from the Bleacher Connection. We had some weird chemistry. It's kind of cool.
Go listen to the Canadians talk hockey, because I mean, if there's nothing better than Canadians talking hockey. As bad as their World Juniors team, yeah, I just took a shot at you. As bad as their World Juniors team is, I'm not gonna. I shouldn't have said that. But either way, go listen to them. It was a fun time. I love listening to your last episode. It was a great time on there. I can't wait to hear more.
Yeah, follow the network on Twitter at Network Unhinged, Instagram at UnhingedSN. Follow us on all social medias, including TikTok at FEOTB Pod. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Turn on notifications. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Rate, review us. Leave 5 stars.
Go use Fanatics and Fubo.
And with that, this has been Far End of the Bench, episode 23 for myself, Jimmy Pilato, and Nico Bryant. We will see you guys next week.
Peace.